Of the 432, you got about 108,000 of each half to spend on the jail operation. The other has to go to debt service, but it has to go in escrow first before you do that.
Another question, Tom. Before we pass the half-cent sales tax to operate debt service and maintain the jail, we had a budget for that amount. Were those funds reappropriated to other areas? In other words, we...
Ask that again. The original budget before we built the jail?
Yeah, we owned and operated a jail.
I was told they took 100,000 out of the sheriff's side and 100,000 out of the jail side.
That went into the general fund.
I don't know where it went. That statement was made to me.
So would it be a fair statement to say if that went into the general fund, it should be put back into the jail fund? Or could be?
If they got the money.
Okay.
Everybody understand the numbers?
Numbers are fine but what's going to happen if we don't pass this tax?
I agree with Randy. It says in the bond documents that the county has pledged 3/4 of a cent. That's the 432 and half of that again.
So
Then, once they start collecting that and they get a judgment for the county for that, they can either collect that, or if they go to a judge, it could be a judge's opinion whether it rolls to property taxes, or they just collect the 3/4 of a cent.
And if the 3/4 of a cent will service the debt, there's no need for them to go any further.
Right. But there is a court case out there in Kay County. We got the same situation here, except they collected too much money. And we got two attorneys saying that you have to do exactly what the voters say. You can't do anything more. And if that's true, they can't pledge the other quarter. But that's for legal minds to figure out, not me.
I mean, that's not a guarantee that the judge is gonna let us use
Yes.
that 1/4%. And even if he does it, I don't know how he's going.
And I rounded the numbers just a little bit to make it easier to understand.
Operate the jail and the courthouse, I guess, I
Yeah.
don't see that. So, but thank you, Tom, we appreciate that.
I tried as simple as, it's got to be simple for me to understand it.
Well, I appreciate that input on there, on that.
Steve's question still hasn't been answered.
that's correct. I don't think I don't know right now of the 28th to go vote for or against this tax proposal.
There's a lot of people probably on the same, agree with you.
And we need to know one way or the other, I think.
Yeah.
Because if this fails, and what I was told, okay, was that it'd go for a federal judge, then we'd end up all being on the ad valorem taxes. And then if the state comes along and adds another 1 cent, which we could look like we're gonna have to vote on.
Yeah.
And then if next year, if the legislature takes away agriculture's exemptions, tax exemptions, you're gonna see,
A sucking sound out of this county.
that's right, you're gonna,
Yeah.
the number, they'll have to put an addition in the Stigler paper about that thick of all the properties that are
Yeah.
gonna be sold for taxes.
I have a different opinion you do on, I don't think it'll go to property taxes, but that's my personal opinion.
I don't know. I
And
just
it's
know
gonna
what
be
it's
some
told.
judge, you know.
Steve, have you been told it would go into a sinking fund on property taxes?
No, all I was told was that it would be, go for a federal judge. We'd default, we'd go for a federal judge. He would then put it, his only choice, I think is what I was told, would be to put it on the ad valorem taxpayers and do it in about 3 years.
What I think will happen, I'll just tell you my personal opinion, what I think will happen. The trustees would take control of the asset, it says in the bonds, if we default. They will take control. They will short sell it to somebody. We will make up the difference out of that 3/4 of a cent. But they'll short sell it to one of their buddies, and we'll pay for their jail for them while they operate it, and we'll still have
Can you explain their buddies?
Well, when they short sell, a bank short sells their bondholders, there's only so many people with money, Randy, that can pay for it. So they will short sell it to someone that'll take it over for whatever they can get out of it. It's like repossessing a house, and we will pay the difference out of that pledged revenue.
Well, what would we do about
Explain
a
that
jail
short
then?
selling, it will go to auction,
Yeah,
public auction.
Public auction.
short sale,
Jail.
auction, something.
Of the
Yeah.
bonds.
And we will pay the difference of what we owe and what it brings it to sale.
What would we do for a jail?
I guess you'll haul them to Sallisaw, Wilburton or something, I don't know.
Organize the problem, if they're collecting the 3/4 of a cent, how are we gonna
They
pay
pay us another
to
half to
house these prisoners?
You won't know the outcome of that until after it's done.
Yeah.
Till after the.
So there's a lot of moving pieces in this, if this happens, But bottom line, there's not enough money right now.
But I asked where you getting the information that it's gonna go to a federal judge and be put on a 3-year tax roll?
I got one from Farley. I've also heard another attorney.
Okay.
That's, and that was their opinions.
Yes,
And you know, an attorney's opinion is
that's the reason
pretty
headquarters
rounded.
does
That's
this.
when we got a whole bunch of them and they all
Yeah.
argued their opinions.
Yeah, I tried to simplify it for you there.
Well, the numbers are fine. I understand that, you know, you've got the numbers. It's which way do we go?
That's true.
If it fails,
Steve, we have a bond book. It's a couple inches thick, very huge. And I've read the part if they have to take possession of it multiple times. And what it defines in there is that they already have the avenue expressed, it's understood, it was recognized and is accepted by this county. That they will come after the pledged levied sales tax that guaranteed the bond payment. And whether or not it goes to the judge or a court or not will be determined by whether this county sues them. So that, there's a lot of play has to take place before that ever happens. Number one, I don't know how the county in their financial condition now or then would be able to bring a lawsuit to them. But to answer your question as to what will happen is they will come after. You'll have, you know, there's a reserve there that they can operate and give them, and basically that's a grace period for the county to have a chance to get back into the good graces of it. If that fails, then they'll come after that sales tax. It won't be an ad valorem tax or anything like that. It doesn't automatically roll onto ad valorem. That rumor that's been expressed and implied is wrong. It's not the truth.
What about the going on property tax?
Yes.
Well, you heard our DA, what he told us.
No, I did not hear.
No, I'm not
no,
talking
yeah,
to you.
he's talking,
I'm talking-
yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Now, that's what our
that's
legal
Farley's
counsel
opinion.
told us.
That's his opinion. It'll be
And-
up to some judge if they bring
It
suit.
would, but it could. It's a possibility. But I'm not saying it would, but
Well,
it's a possibility.
You're right, it's up to a judge, but Farley didn't state it that way. He said he was pretty much locked into going on the ad valorem. He didn't say anything about.
Well, he said
judging-
that a judge cannot put it on sales
Sales
tax, because that
tax.
was illegal for a judge to do that.
I just got a different opinion than Farley.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's what we don't know.
Yeah.
That's why we're sitting here on the 28th, trying to decide whether to vote for it or against it.
But you don't know if Farley has read the bond book either, so maybe he doesn't
Well, I
know
don't
that
know
that's in
that,
there.
I don't know that that's necessarily, he'd have to read it, but it is his legal opinion. Now, I agree, I think we ought to as a voter before the 28th, which we probably can't get done, I'd like to have multiple opinions of what they think this is gonna do. I've had one, and I know Randy's telling me exactly what he's been told.
And I've got people investigating even further.
Well, and the original bond attorneys also came out with the opinion that said the sales tax would be taken by the bondholders. So there was no avenue to go to property taxes, so.
The original bond attorneys, the one that y'all, that
So
we
if you-
deleted.
To go back to the discussions at the VOTEC, when that specific question was asked, because, well, basically you're asking was, your question was asked, and he answered it the same way Randy did. Jeff Rayleigh said, he said, it will not go to taxes, they will take the sales tax
See,
cut in.
I missed that, and that's my fault.
And even if it does go to sales tax, I mean, like, how are we gonna run the courthouse then, and the jail? That's my question.
I have a question about the legalities of the quarter-cent sales tax you just made a comment on.
I do too, Rick.
Well, did y'all vote on sign for it?
No, not the best of my memory, because I can't remember everything I've done the last 10 years, but the best of my memory, is I remember sitting in here, Kenny just told him he'd do that. I never remember voting on it, and we can go through the minutes, and we can double check that. And that's the reason I'm saying, I've been told that might not be legal. I I'm not
That's
saying it
the,
is or it isn't.
Rick, that's the rub up in K County. They did the same thing. They pledged revenue without a vote of the people. And we got the auditor's office saying you can't do that. They can't pledge it without a vote of the people.
Well, isn't that something that needs to be researched? I mean, why are we just talking about it? If you think it's illegal, why aren't we doing something about it?
Well, I've asked Farley, and he, best I can tell, you know, he just said, if we went into default, the judge would determine that then. And that was the answer that I was given.
Here again, we're asking the prosecutor, nothing against Farley, but we're asking the prosecutor.
anyway.
And you keep saying he's your legal counsel, but you've also got other legal counsel available all over the United States that can be asked that same question, that are experts in this matter, not a prosecutor.
Well, I do know Farley. I've been in his office with him, Rick, and I know he has researched and talked to other attorneys about some of the questions we've asked him. If that's not what he specializes in, he does seek advice.
I'm gonna watch K County. Whatever happens there, it'll determine what happens here.
And I don't know, Rick. I
We
mean,
need to know something by the 28th. As
That
far as
probably won't
voting.
happen.
Well, if you've got
Don't worry
if
about it.
you've got something going on illegal, that needs to be brought up. The people need to know this. But why has the county got 3/4 dedicated and there's questions whether it's even legal to be dedicated?
it's a good question.
And why wait till we go into default to decide whether this is legal? Why not know where we're at today?
Well,
They're not putting that quarter in escrow anyway, so they're
We're
not
not
following
putting
the
it-
bond document, so they haven't done anything illegal except against the bondholders.
yeah, we haven't. But I did ask Farley, and I guess I can go back and ask for a definite answer. I mean, I did ask him that, and that, I gave you his answer, what he told me.
But
They're not putting it in.
isn't it in the bond that you're supposed to be putting it into escrow?
Yes.
Yes.
But you're not doing it, so that's illegal too.
Yep. Of course, it's not illegal. It's against the bond indenture.
So you need to know what you need to be doing and not doing instead of waiting to see what happens after you go into default.
So what I think you just said was that if it is legal, we're not doing it. We're not taking the additional tax and applying it where it should go.
Right.
So,
If you were applying that 1/4 cent,
yes,
it would service the debt
there you go.
easily.
But at the end of the day, Bobby, we can debate this till we're blue in the face, and I think Tom and I think Rick and some more people agree. Without some more money, you're not gonna run the courthouse and the jail. Do you
I don't
believe that?
disagree, but just like we talked
Okay.
last week, till we see a budget, you've already,
Well, Tom-
wait, I got it. You voted additional tax, but you haven't applied it and used it as you voted
Well, no.
and elected to use it.
The additional tax, the 1/4%.
1/4%.
Now,
That's
what
why
you
it
said I
hasn't,
voted
you said at some point in the proceedings, Kenny or someone.
Kenny, not the commissioners.
Was approved by the commissioners.
No, I don't think it was ever on the agenda or anything. To the best of my knowledge,
Well, the bond document was signed saying it would be
To the
dedicated,
best of-
it would be dedicated to the debt.
In the
correct?
refinancing package.
It was in the refinancing package, so.
Why don't we dig this out and find out?
Right.
So
I'll
if
send it to
one
you.
person's all that's agreed to sign to it, it's
well,
not
now,
legal
Rick,
anyway.
I'm not guaranteeing that.
What
I'm
the
saying to the
voters
best of
voted
my
on was a
memory.
whole different
Right.
thing.
Right.
They didn't pledge it to the deal.
Didn't say they did, we were just talking about.
But when we were making out the ballot,
I'll give you
I asked Farley about some of these questions,
Somebody gave me that, yeah.
and he said, I was under the impression that they won't be able to come after the 1/4%. That was the impression I was under.
But do you think that the voters, if the voters knew that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing now, and there's questions of whether or not it's even legal about what you've done in the past, that's willing to pay more and vote yes for more tax, knowing that you may not like where it's supposed to be, or may not be used as like you've agreed to in the past?
So that's not true, Rick, because you can read the ballots, what we voted on,
Yes.
the whole 1/2% that was voted on by the people of Haskell County. Every penny of that has been put where it's supposed to be. Okay.
I understand
Then
that.
the 1/4%, if you read the ballot,
The original was 06.
then we haven't misled the people none whatsoever.
I understand that, but you also agreed to pay 3/4 cent and refinance the bond and have not went by those rules either.
Well, that, like you said, that's something we need to find out if that's even legal, you
In the
know.
bond, in the
if it's
bond
even
book,
legal.
in the bond book, it says that the original half cent, the 3/8 of it would apply to the debt, and an eighth of it would apply to the operation of the jail, providing the payment was made in full.
Correct.
When it was not made in full, then the other 8 cent would go towards the debt. Have you always applied that 8 cent to the debt?
Not all the time, no.
So there again, we misappropriated tax dollars in agreement that we did once before.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Randy, because when we couldn't make the payments out there, couldn't make payroll out there, because we didn't have the money to make payroll, Farley Ward allowed us to take that out. We had no way of making payroll.
Do you have that all documented, or where it was voted on, or anything like that?
Well, we can go get Farley, and I'm sure he remembers. I mean, if you don't want to take my
Maybe,
word for
maybe
it,
he ought to be here.
he needs to be
Well,
here.
back to Rick's comment. We heard the comment from commissioners last week that if we pass this tax into the future, if any commissioner misappropriates, doesn't spend every penny of the tax where it's supposed to go, they're going straight to jail. We don't want anyone to go to jail.
No.
But we have two instances here where the voters approved a tax. We just said as a group of, or body of commissioners, that all the payments did not go towards the debt as they should have, be restricted funds and voted on by the people. The additional tax, which was dedicated to the bondholders, did not in all cases go to the bondholders. So we have two cases where we didn't take restricted or dedicated funds and apply them as we said we would. And that goes to Rick's question. We haven't done it in the past. What's going to change and make it different in the future? We really have a shortage. Is Farley going to come in and say, well, I know we made a promise to do it, but just take it and put it somewhere else? That doesn't cut it for me as a voter.
If people, I'm gonna say this, and I'm on camera, if you don't wanna vote for it, don't vote for it. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's all I can tell you. I mean, we're gonna do everything we can to educate the public on what's gonna happen, what we can do. But, you know, everybody has the right to vote like they want.
I don't know how we're going to educate the public when we don't know either way.
I said we're gonna work on it.
Yeah, I know. How, but what do you?
And the question was brought up by Sandra, that she would like to see numbers stating would the 0.5% sales tax take care of our problem from here on out? And, you know, Tom has been working on that, and we talked about it, and I mean, do you think it's gonna take care of it?
I think it will. Looks like it will to
It
me.
looks like on paper it's gonna take
For
care
how
of it.
long?
Huh?
For how long?
If, it depends on how much they spend monthly on the jail. At $30,000 a month,
For how many years?
how many years? They can spend $30,000 until the 2031, it'll take care of it.
Only 30,000?
You can do math on 40,000 if you want to, Randy. I mean, I don't care. You can, it's just a matter of
It's
numbers.
gonna take a lot more than that. What I'm saying is that the commissioners agreed to have solid bond counsel
Mhm.
look at this situation.
Okay.
And they did not do that. They jumped out and went for a 0.5 cent sales tax. My biggest concern with all of that is that we're asking the voters for a 0.5 cent like a slush fund. We're not defining it. And it is my belief, and I still
We're not
believe it.
defining it.
Excuse me, I got the
No, I'm
floor.
running this meeting.
I know you are,
Hey,
but I've got the
don't
floor.
say we're not defining, it's
Excuse me,
defined on
I've
the
got the
ballot.
floor.
No, I'm running me. How can you say we're not
Excuse me, I've
defining
got
that?
the floor.
No, how can you say we're not defining it when it's on the ballot? That's a just
Excuse
simple
me, I was in the
question.
middle of a conversation.
That was
here.
just
You
simple
can hold
question.
your horses.
That was a simple question.
When we do not have a definement of how is the money to be spent and how will it be put up against inflation in 8 years.
I hadn't
It's
put it up against
operating.
inflation.
Well, you didn't.
No.
Well, I have.
Okay, go ahead. It's
Well,
not going
I
to generate
have-
any more revenue. You're going to have 108,000 out of the first 0.5 cent to put over in the jail operation, and 108 of the second if it brings in 432.
You explained that, but what I'm saying, Tom, is that when this money is chewed up by inflation, in
Mhm.
8 years, you're gonna have to ask for another 0.5 cent.
We'll remove the requirement they spend 25% on the jail and let them spend more.
Now
We've
you wanna
restricted
change-
them to 108.
No.
The rest has to go to payment.
You're missing the whole concept here, is that I don't think that the half cent in the sales tax form will
Mhm.
operate the jail, because there's no addition or no accountability for inflation. And we need to examine that, and it needs to be studied and designed so that it will prolong, and it will make it through the debt. And the only way to do that is put the operational cost on a tax that is adjusted with inflation.
Yeah, and that's property tax. Nobody's gonna do that. You gotta pay
Well, you don't know
60%.
that. You don't know that. If it's
Yeah.
explained to them.
That's my
right-
opinion.
Well, I've been told by, you know, our Roger and Nody, if you go out for a vote of the people for property tax, you can only go up 3 mills.
It's 150.
He said he'd put $45,000 a year into our general fund. That $45,000 a year is not gonna cover the debt.
You'll default before you get there,
That's what I'm saying.
if it goes to property.
If you were to vote
Here
on
again,
that.
you don't know.
Yeah.
It's all
You don't know
assumption.
what. Does anybody else have anything?
Yes, we do.